I mean, my journey has been very difficult, and I had to show charismatic commitment. I was very committed to where I want to get to. You know, it wasn't a matter of I need to become a DP. It meant I needed to be the best I am at that time. So whether I'm a camera assistant, I needed to be the best. Whether I'm a focus puller, I needed to be the best. Whether I'm a production assistant, I need to be the best at what I do at that time. I've brought in a couple of people, and I always work from a point of commitment. How committed are you to this? What have you done to show that you're committed to the cause? So I want somebody who, like, I'll ask basic questions. Do you have somebody that you look up to? Do you have a favorite cinematographer? Do you know rental companies? What is your favorite camera? Lenses. Let's talk about the basics of wanting to become a cinematographer. What kind of lighting do you want? You know, like, what commitment have you shown?
Hello there, my name is Marcus Babusela, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Film Biz Show. The show where we delve into industry professional minds to discover their insights about the landscape of the film and television industry, both locally and internationally. If you're tuning in for the first time, please subscribe to this channel, like, click the share button, and comment. And we're sure you're going to love this installment. Today, we're joined by someone who translates the script and director's vision into a motion picture. Having graduated from AFDA, this filmmaker has made it his mission to create stylized visuals with the work he does. Passionate about storytelling and cinematography and engaging lighting, his most recent works include Yolanda is Swagger, Mother of All, The Life of Mendoza as a director of photography, and The Kings of Joburg Season 2, and Josie Movie as a camera operator. Everyone, please welcome the phenomenal Lesiba Dan Teffo. Welcome, brother. Thanks for coming to our show, man.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you for coming to our show. Yeah, man. How are you doing this Joburg? This Sunday evening.
Yeah, I'm doing great, man.
Yeah, man.
It's just my day off after a 6-day week.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a hectic week, and today I've just been chilling.
Yeah, I know you guys are
Probably the only thing I'm doing today.
interesting, man.
Yeah.
I know you're currently in the middle of a shoot. It's a 4-week shoot. Yeah,
5 week.
5 week. How's that going?
It's going all right.
Yeah.
It's got its challenges, but I'm excited about the outcomes. I think I'm doing some exceptional, my best work yet, and you'll see it in very soon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It definitely is exciting times. Yesterday, I got a call from some colleagues, and apparently there's a new award ceremony that's out. I think it's a National Film and Television Awards.
Yeah.
I was surprised, man.
I
Like, it
didn't know
seems
about
like
it as well.
You know what I mean? It's like our space is just opening up, you know. But funny. I mean, when I looked at all the nominations and all of that, I could be wrong, but I did not see any shout out for our cinematographers and the people who so I hope I'm wrong, but South Africa, you're doing well, but we need more representation for our men's behind the scenes, you know. But bro, I mean, after it's a school that's associated with forming some of the best filmmakers we have in the country, do you feel that it helped craft, the kind of creative that you are today, in the industry?
Yeah, it was my birth for the love of cinematography.
Yeah.
I had no clue what cinematography was until I went to AFDA. In fact, I went to AFDA to go study music, film scoring.
Interesting. Well, you used to make beats.
I used to make beats.
For real?
at
Okay.
home. I really wanted to become a superstar rapper.
Yeah, you my dude. I was that guy too, right?
And then, I watched a couple of movies like Coach Carter.
Oh yeah.
And I just loved the score. Like, I loved how, like, the music made me more engaged in the film. And I decided, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to put music on films. And I went to AFDA, and I had to choose, in my first year, I had to choose 4 disciplines. So music happened to be one of them, and cinematography happened to be. What I found was that music was so hard for me because I had to learn the theory of music.
Yeah, man.
And I had no clue about the theory. All I knew was Fruity Loops, man.
Yeah, you know how it is. Yeah, make those bangers.
I didn't know the theory of music. And what I found when I went to my cinematography class,
Yeah.
it just came easy. And I excelled more in it. I ended up dropping music and just jumping onto the side of cinematography.
Yeah. It's always a challenge to kind of make those life-changing, you know, for someone it just
Yeah.
seems like, oh, you just chose a different subject.
Yeah.
But for you, I know that feeling.
I really
you had
held
that
on to
vision,
it,
you know what I'm
yeah.
saying? And it's like, oh man, you know, let's try what I'm really good at. You know?
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting. But I mean, coming from Tembisa, I'm sure it was a culture shock, you know, stepping into
Definitely.
AFTA. How did you find that, you know?
Man, oh man. It was, I'm first generation filmmaker in my family.
And yeah,
You
I
know?
like the way you put it, dog. Your first generation, your kids are gonna be in that.
Yeah.
I love that, bro.
So
yeah,
my kids
sure.
are so I didn't have any idea of like what the film, what the film world is about. And I found that like my peers, knew more, like they were more engaging, they were more, and I was just like, what are these people talking about? I remember in cinematography class when they talk about when they speak the technical terms like f-stop, shutter speed, people already knew what that was. I didn't know what it was because then it's not something that I really like showed interest in until I got to AFTA. But that made me want to do it even more, That made me want to do it even more. And for me, it was hard, man. Like I used to take a train from Tembisa to Joburg every single day. And with that school is a practical school. Like you're actually shooting, and a night scene is a night scene. And back then we shot on celluloid, shot on film, like. So it was very challenging.
Yeah,
it was very challenging. Yeah.
But I mean, I'm sure in hindsight, when you look at some of your classmates, the people you were working with, you've progressed, beyond, I mean, it's not like it's a competition, but
It's
it's
not
like,
like
but I mean, I think that's also the power of being a blank page, I heard something Black Coffee spoke about. He says, in the room, he does not like to be, the most knowledgeable person.
Yeah.
He likes to step into a room and learn, and I think perhaps that's what made you excel to the level that you're at right now.
Yeah.
Is that you were absorbing.
Yeah.
You had not, you didn't know, and you were hungry, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, big up to that. Bro.
And I didn't have a second. I didn't have a plan, a fallback plan. Like I had to make. It was very expensive then, and I remember my mom saying to me that I'm done. This is it. Like now you gotta go fend for yourself, and I had to make it work. Yeah. I've never worked any other job. This is the only thing that I know, So,
yeah. But in hindsight, were you ready? Because sometimes, I mean, as a kid, like, okay, mom, I'm going to make you proud. But when you step into this jungle, bro, so many vultures, and were you ready? Or was it a bit of a shock when you actually stepped into the industry and got a sense of what it's really like,
Yeah, it was very shocking. I'll tell you a humbling story. Like one of the most humbling experiences I've had in the industry is, so my first job was for another company. I was shadowing another DOP. And when the DOP left to go do another job, I'd take over as the DP. The focus puller at the end of that job offered me to come and camera assist for her. Oh. And I did. Because what I did when I was shadowing that DP really humbled me. I saw what it takes another form of leadership, another kind of leadership to be a DP. It goes beyond taking great pictures and beautiful lighting and understanding the technicalities. It's really, you really need to be a people's person. Yeah. You need to know how to work under pressure. You need to manage time. There's a lot that goes into being a DP outside of just, being exceptionally technically outstanding.
Funny. It means that, in that experience, you must have, you've got the real taste of what it was like. Right?
Yeah.
But I've experienced as well, like at times you get directors who are a bit lazy, and the DP has to step up. You know, it's usually the DP that saves the boat, you know, that saves the whole ship. You know, so I'm assuming that, you know, that's what you learned in that time. Like you got no time to sit back in the corner and you have to.
But also, like, I saw that the film industry kind of works like any other, you know, industry. Like, I have to start at the bottom and work my way up. You know, I have to earn my stripes, you know. And with earning stripes comes the most important thing, which is experience. You know, I cannot be a DP without having the experience of being a DP, of, you know, of watching other people do it. You know, and coming from after, I literally, all I have is theory and my own practical, you know, experience. But basically, I know nothing about the industry. You know, it might have, after might have taught me the basics, but the film industry requires you to finesse, you know, and the only way to learn is for me to kind of start at the bottom and work my way up. I come from that school, you know. I saw some of my peers become DPs way earlier than before I did, and it really didn't matter because I felt that I wasn't ready, you know, and I just had to go through what I had like.
So how long was that journey, you know, to eventually becoming a DP?
I think this is my 4th year of DPing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting, brother.
This is literally my 4th year of DPing.
Yeah.
So it took 5 years of loading, being a second camera assistant, 2 years of being a focus puller, and operating up until 2019. I still operate till today.
Yeah.
But it took years of watching, years of absorbing, years of learning, years of watching some of my peers get ahead of me, man.
And bro, I know that feeling for real. I know but I mean, you know, and I guess that's what built the confidence when you finally step into that place of leadership.
Yeah.
You're not even, you don't have any guilt about it.
Nah, I don't.
You take it.
I take it.
Yeah. That's really interesting, man. But I mean, at that time, did you have any DPs that you were looking up to? You know, any casts you were like, yeah.
In fact, I was very fortunate to work with DPs that I looked up to, you know, especially in South Africa, you know. So it's funny how like I was taught by women.
Yeah.
Like the whole camera department thing, I was taught by women. All the females in the industry kind of like took me in and they showed me how to work as a loader, as a focus puller, and as a DP. Haupi Lelukabe is one of the ladies that gave me an opportunity
Shout
to
out
operate.
To Haupi, man.
On some of the biggest shows in SA. I've worked with her on several of her projects. Mr. Trevor Brown, Kabelo Tate, Tiane Nyembe, all those guys, they just opened their doors, man. And I remember going to the set where Tiane was shooting, and he just chilled back and said, no, jump onto the camera and operate, you know?
Sure.
That made me comfortable behind a camera, you know?
How was it working with Trevor Brown? I haven't worked with him, but I've worked with his son.
Amazing old man.
And I was with it, you know, they were like, man, that guy is a library of knowledge.
Yeah. Okay. I've got a whole stack of, actually in my bag right now. I bumped into him not so long ago.
Nice.
He was taking lots of magazines, American cinematographer magazines to Cine Connect. And he gave me like 4, and he told me I must watch a couple of movies, and it's like, next time I see you, we're gonna have a discussion about those movies. But he's so calm,
man.
And he's so true to the art. Like, he's one person that taught me how to understand skin tone. That like I need to understand the skin tone I'm lighting for. I need to understand understanding is everything, you know, understanding the genre I'm filming, understanding the scene that I'm shooting, understanding the language, understanding the story. Like
It's powerful.
He's a whole
man.
Bible.
You know, and it's funny because, at times you hear these debates, especially with younger creatives who are like, it's our time now, put us on the spot, blah, 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 all this raging, youthful energy to say, yo, man, put me on. But like, actually, we forget that we've got, the other generation before us who's gone through, every single step we're going through. What we're bringing on that's new is only a small part.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I know it counts a lot, but we can't forget the knowledge and the experience of those who came before us.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly where we lose it. That's where we lose it, and we tend to be a little, I don't know, pessimistic when it comes to our own.
Yeah.
Instead of giving homage to those who came before us. So I'm really, really, really glad that you were able to, break bread with the greats, man.
Yeah. I mean, the greats made me who I am.
Yes, sir.
And I come from a school where, like, it was back in the day where you were told to stay far away from the camera. You know that. You know that era when they tell you do not get close to that camera. Stay far away from that camera.
Yeah.
I come from that school. And it was quite refreshing coming across such people that were like, nah, dog, just
feel free.
get it. Get it. Do whatever it is that you want to do. You know?
But the difference between female and male, kind of mentors, because apparently, the feminine energy is much more nurturing in terms of their approach on how, and us as gents, we just more like, okay, tick that box, tick that, okay, then thanks, cheers.
Yeah.
How did you find that, with some of your female?
I guess with the gents, it's a more of do it.
Yeah.
Like
sure.
it's a more of a do it as many times as you can in order for you to understand it. But with the ladies, it's more of a, so this is why we do it.
Yeah.
This is, it's a more of
like a mother,
Yeah, it's
teaspoon.
Explaining why, explaining this, explaining, whereas the guys just leave you to do it.
Boom.
But they'll tell you that you're messing up.
Sure.
Stop. Now you're messing up.
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah, man, that's pretty powerful, man. But like, do you feel that the camera crew is as valued as they should be in our industry? Like, what power do you think, you guys hold in the space? And do you feel as if you're being respected?
Man, as filmmakers, we are caught between like
A rock and a hard place.
A rock and a hard place, because we've got to work. I have to pay rent at the end of the month.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like the work has no money.
Yeah.
But I've got to do it, From that perspective, I feel like we're not being respected, because we end up they make ridiculous requests, they'll make you sign a contract that says you can't work overtime.
Sure.
2 days into the shoot, you're being asked to work overtime. And should you not work overtime, you're the rotten apple.
Sure.
Have
you been in that situation where you were forced to sign?
So many times. We're not forced to sign it.
Yeah,
we sign it willingly,
It's standard.
Yeah, we sign it willingly.
Yeah,
People will say, okay, we don't pay overtime. We're like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
But then you get to work, they put you in an awkward position by saying, guys, please, can you help us work overtime? And you're just like, okay, but like you're not paying for it. And I'm not allowed to say no.
Yeah.
I should feel bad if I'm saying no.
Is that standard though, or it's some production companies?
It's some production companies.
Yeah.
It's not standard.
Yeah.
It's some production companies.
Man, that's hectic because South Africa, we are renowned for like shooting beyond schedule, like, over squeezing like 20 scenes in a day, which is, I think, crazy. So you're basically signing your life away. You're saying, okay, fine, abuse me.
Yeah. Should you we're not allowed to speak. I mean, the minute you voice out a opinion, or the minute you say this is against the law, because they do,
it is.
They say a lot of things that like, and the minute you say this is against the law, you talk too much, or this, or that. The minute you speak up and you're vocal about, you're right. As a crew member, you know, you're cancelled.
Yes.
Yeah, no, don't hire that one. He speaks too much. No,
Isn't there a representative body where you can kind of, I mean, as actors, we got Saga, producers have IPO, writers have the Writers Guild. You know, do you guys have a body like that can represent your sort of like your, you know, your demands or like your...
I mean, I just have my agent
Sure.
at the moment. I'm not so involved in the community of like cinematography and filmmakers community, but like I've seen some people march to the SABC and
No, bro, it's not always just about marching, man. You know, when you think about representation, you always think Viva. And I think that's actually
what we need.
But bro, that's actually what makes people not want to join these like, I'm gonna be that guy. Marching, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, yeah. So you've seen those
yeah, I've seen, but I've got personal experience of you know, not adhering to what the production company wants, and you're labeled as a bad guy,
troublemaker.
a troublemaker.
Yeah, because when I think about it, even this year at the Durban Film Mart, I did not see any representation for you guys. Yeah, we had everyone: South African Guild of Actors, Writers Guild, Independent Producers Organization. But I think there's something there, you know, because it's usually the one who's labeled as the bad guy. You know, they kind of sacrifice you so everyone can be scared, right? Like, you know, it's like in a a cotton field. That slave was just kind of, they're like, okay, they show everyone, you know, then you know not to kind of, you know, so that must have been tough actually, you know, standing up for yourself.
Yeah, and it's more so standing up for the team. You know, it's as a DP, I've got a gaffer and a gripping team that I need for another 5 weeks. If you're gonna make them work 3 hour overtime on day 2 of 27 days, what happens to them on day 25?
Yo, day 6. 25.
Yeah. So I've got to make sure that these guys, I'm pacing this show nicely, you know. Got to make sure that I'm pacing the team nicely because the schedule doesn't get any better as the show progresses, you know. It gets worse because we're dropping scenes. They're being added onto other days.
Can't do that.
Like, it really has to come from the production company to say, let's rather add more time.
Boom. Interesting, man. But I mean, you know, when you think about it, you know, in SA, we do have some amazing DPs, but, you know, but sometimes the opportunity to create content that shows off your skill and your interests, you know, it becomes a bit rare and scarce. So, you know, how do you find ways to ensure you grab opportunities that show off your skill, your kind of, you know, what you're interested in, you know?
So the one thing we never talk about is process. Like, I've got a process, you know? And my process allows me to kind of to always be thinking in that dimension, you know, in that spectrum of thought. So when I get a script, right, I'll read it and I'll just have pictures. My laptop's full of like screen grabs from pictures from other movies. And I'll always make that kind of a reference to a certain scene that I want to do, you know, in the show. So the idea of what I want to do is, by the time I get on set, it's imprinted in my head. I make sure that I get on set knowing, like, I'm shooting an 8-part series right now. I know the story from one right up till the end. All I need is just the director to be like, so in this scene, this and this, and I'm like, oh, okay. I've got, you know, I know exactly what I'm doing. It's a well thought of thing. And I've learned that I need to allow the director to kind of take the lead and let me follow. You know, that for me, I find saves time. I don't have to figure everything. I don't have to come into the scene having figured everything out. You know, let the director lead, and then
you follow.
I follow with whatever ideas I've got. You know, that for me has been a lot more efficient, and I don't have a back and forth with the director. I don't have a back and forth.
You just get it once, boom, and you're able to go.
Shoop, I let him go in, and then I follow.
Yeah,
and then
it's like hard work versus smart work. Right?
Yeah.
You don't want to be the steering who's like, oh, but I was thinking. Yeah. He's like, no, let's do this. And then your thing is, how can I support?
How can I support it? Yeah.
Which is brilliant, man. Kind of knowing the role that you're playing.
Yeah.
You know, and as someone who comes from Tembisa, you know, entrenched in the culture of the township, I'm assuming that there could be, you know, something that's quite close to your heart, right? And usually we think that someone who's in your position is just thinking technical, is not thinking narrative or anything like that. But you know, what kind of stories are close to your heart that you would like to tell? You know,
I mean, you know, growing up in the township, I've got lots of like township psychology in my head.
And you come from a vibrant township.
Tembisa is vibrant. Yeah.
When we talk culture, yes. There's no theater, there's no hood in Gauteng that's got theater like Tembisa. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The football in Tembisa, just the people there, all the guys anyway, when I want a cat, like my guys are usually from Tembisa. Yeah. Shout out Mandla Matonsi.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I mean, I wanna tell like stories that are very close to my heart. You know, township psychology is very different from what I experienced once I left the hood. You know, and for example, opening a car wash for somebody in the hood is a dream,
big ambition.
Yeah, it's a dream. For me, it seems like just buying buckets, soaps, and that's it. But for them, it's a really big dream. You know, there's also somebody like Opaisang Maswiti at the corner who's barely making enough. But I remember we used to bother those guys. That's
so cruel. You know, 50 cents.
Yeah, it's 5 or like, you know what I'm saying? I remember some of my peers wanted to, like, he just wanted to be a taxi driver. Like, it's like, Joe, if I can just be a taxi driver, I'll be cool. I'll be fine. I'll be okay. How we used to speak about football, like how everybody just wanted to become a football superstar. Yeah. And not just any football superstars, man. George Maluleka is from my hood. And like everybody till today still looks, there's a bunch that looks up to that guy. And there's so many other soccer players that play professionally that are from the hood. But one that I know is it's George Maluleka because we come from the same hood.
Yeah, man.
So those are like touching stories that, like, you know, we see every day that I've experienced personally, that I believe most people, where is DSTV? DSTV is in the hood, bro. And if we put those stories on DSTV, those are the people that will resonate with the stories. I would like to start a company that kind of talks about township culture.
I think we really do need that, man.
Yeah.
Because we're getting a sense now that, like, our culture, I mean, it's a good thing, you know, with Mapiano that's coming out and it's becoming more global. But what eventually happens in such situations is that we get a blanket culture.
Yeah.
You know, sort of like, you know, a kid from Tembisa looks, feels, sounds like a kid from LA.
Yeah.
A kid from LA looks, feels, sounds like a kid from Mexico. It's like, you know, where's the individuality? And I think, you know, post 94, you know, and before, you know, let's say before maybe 2010 or so, we had a very strong sense of self. Self-image was quite strong with people like DJ Kabzela, you know, cats who were like really repping our local culture. Yeah.
I mean, when I grew up, I mean, I smoked cigarettes.
Yeah.
I couldn't stand at the corner and smoke cigarettes because I'm afraid, who's going to rock? Anybody will get out of that taxi. It could be my mother's friend. It could be the neighbor. It could be anybody that comes out of that taxi.
True.
Man, I used to take the train to school. Do you know what happens in the train in the morning?
Yeah.
an entire church service happens in there. A beautiful church service happens in the train on the way to school. So like, with the loss of the township culture, we're gonna lose so much more than township culture.
true.
Like we lose the respect that that came with it. We lose the unity that came with it. I can't see myself going to ask a neighbor for sugar now.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the township culture that we're losing.
We're using the essence of our humanity.
We're using the essence of our humanity.
Just
like I can't reprimand my sister's kids. I can't do that. But I was reprimanded by my neighbors who didn't even know who my mother was. Just because I'm a young kid walking in the streets and being disrespectful. And I would listen and I would respect.
Boom.
But with that culture going, if we do not preserve that culture of the hood, of township culture, if we lose it, we lose so much more.
We lose a lot. I mean, just midweek, so my business partner and I were having, we have these regular meetings, and we just popped into a restaurant in Bromfontein. And these kids are in school uniform.
Yeah.
They've got a whole hubbly. They just got a bottle of Hennessy. I'm like, and we're forced to sit next to them because it's not, I'm like, man, I'm asking these kids, like, no, we just want to enjoy our lives, man. Like, we just finished writing. And I can't reprimand them. You know what I'm saying? You're overstepping. And coming from where we come from, there's no way, especially in uniform, you'd be that kid, chilling like you some millionaire who's made it, popping bottles. It's crazy, man. Yeah, so I really, really, really respect that. I've always wanted us to, focus on preserving our culture. Do you think that we are seeing enough of those stories?
I don't think we are. Well, they're not presented in that way.
Yeah.
I really can't explain it, but it's almost as if they're just on the surface. We're very quick to talk about social ills. We're very quick to talk about the drug abuse, the alcoholism, but we don't talk about the disrespect, the disconnect, the what's separating us, our generation, from the now generation. Like, we're not talking about those issues because I feel those are much bigger. If I can't respect my mother, that's a bigger issue. That's because that's the root of everything. That's the foundation. If I can't pass on the foundation I had to the next kid, that's the problem.
But then, which boils down to the question of mentorship on a personal level. Are you kind of bringing in young cats, young creatives, to kind of show them the way, and how do you vet them? How do you kind of see if this is the kind of kid that I want to put next to me? Because I'm sure your journey has been difficult to get to where you are.
I mean, my journey has been very difficult, and I had to show charismatic commitment to put it, for lack of better words. Like, my commitment to this craft has been very charismatic. I was very committed to where I want to get to. It wasn't a matter of I need to become a DP. It meant I needed to be the best I am at that time. Whether I'm a camera assistant, I needed to be the best. Whether I'm a focus puller, I needed to be the best. Whether I'm a production assistant, I need to be the best at what I do at that time. That's how committed I was to getting to, and I really don't think I've reached the peak of my career, but yeah, I've definitely reached another milestone, So I've brought in a couple of people, and I always work from a point of commitment. How committed are you to this? What have you done to show that you're committed to the cause? So I want somebody who, like, I'll ask basic questions. Do you have somebody that you look up to? Do you have a favorite cinematographer? Do you know rental companies. What is your favorite camera? Lenses. Let's talk about the basics of wanting to become a cinematographer. What kind of lighting do you want? What commitment have you shown? And then I work it from there. And so when I came in, battery, there's a thing, this camera batteries.
Yeah.
So on other sets, like there's batteries in the camera department, there's batteries for all sorts of things. Battery duty. It's a simple task, right? Just to make sure that we never have flat batteries or we never run out of power for any piece of equipment. Just that little responsibility. You need to, I need to see your commitment. I need to see you labeling the batteries there, saying, okay, this is battery 1, battery 2, or giving them names or something, knowing which battery is flat, which one is full, because some don't have, you can't see them there. You know what I'm saying? So I work from a level of commitment, and I need to see, how committed are you to the course?
Kind of reminds me of this quote. It says, how you do one thing tells how you do everything.
Yes.
Yeah. So you choose the young guys based on you. Yeah. So you're able to vet.
And I generally work with young guys, man, because I believe young guys now are more informed, with the AIs and all that stuff. They are more informed.
The flying, man.
Yeah. The
flying. So I passed by my old college, the Market Theatre Laboratory, sometime last week, and I walked into a performance by one of the students, and I'm just surprised at the level. Whew. The level is way higher than when we were at. You know what I mean? It's like he can dance toe to toe with me.
Yeah.
And that's the power of youth right now. It's like they're hungry. They're not apologetic.
Yeah.
They want to do it, and they know they've got great ideas. Yeah. So I think it's important to kind of, as much as we say, learn from those collaborate with these cats. Because only magic can come from there. But from a technical point of view, we have a lot of resources in this country. Budgets aside, we've got access to so many cameras, lighting setups, camera accessories to play with. Yet sometimes the quality, for some reason, it just doesn't add up. What do you think is holding us back from reaching that international quality, which I don't think we're too far from?
Yeah.
But, at times we kind of, what do you think? What's that thin line at times we...
I think we can easily match international standards.
Yes, sir.
The problem is that we're not talking about the process. We're not sharing our processes. We're not sharing our ideas. Our unity, I feel like our unity in the industry is still a bit on the surface. And we're not being true to the stories that we're trying to tell. If a story was in 1996, it happened in 1996, we need to recreate the world, right? And I can't write a script that was recreated in 1996 and not match up to that story. I have to live up to what is written. And that's one thing that's holding us back. It's the compromises based on the financial constraints. I wouldn't even call them financial constraints. No. I don't know what they are. But we compromise the very most important of the elements.
But do you think also we're not having enough conversations as DPs, as cinematographers, as, one of my visions for the show is for us to start having roundtable conversations, and you meet your peers and your colleagues, those who are way ahead and those who are way behind, in terms of experience, and obviously, just to get a sense of process, and I think these conversations will be able to set a standard to say, sure.
You know what, the telenovela, because it's a new culture. It's a new culture that's coming in now. DPs are now going to set without having read scripts, without having prepped. And I mean, it's understandable. I can prep for the first 10 episodes, but more than that, man. I can't prep for episode 145, man. That's, and it's a 9 to 5. Do you know what I'm saying? But a telenovela still works like any other film. It's shot on location. It's it's not a studio. They say it's a studio, but it's a house.
It's a house.
It's a location.
But I think we need to be honest about the audience that watches telenovelas, because that audience member is from work, it's tired, probably just cooked or just got takeaways. They just want to sit in front of the TV. They don't care what the DOP said. Yo, man, I just, is this guy going to kiss that girl or not? What are they going to do?
Yeah.
Boom, boom.
For the audience, it doesn't matter. For the audience, it doesn't matter. It matters for me because that's my colleague.
Yeah,
the DP on that show is my colleague. And he's calling me. He's hitting me up wanting to collaborate with me.
But you look at that, you're like,
but I look at that and I'm like, how do I then collaborate with this artist? Because our processes are not the same.
That's so true.
Our processes are not the same. So we're not unified in any way, we're not, but also my process is not, I'm not saying I've shot some telenovelas and they'll call me last minute to come and I'll just wake up in the morning and go there.
Yeah.
And I treat it like that.
Sometimes you do say, fuck it.
Yeah.
This is how it is. Like, I'm not going to be, because I've been that guy who walks in the room overly prepared.
Overly prepared. And you get there.
And sometimes, sometimes you stand out and you become subject to like, we put it over I'll show him. The last thing you want to be is a smart kid and full, so it's interesting dynamic. But I think those conversations are so important.
They're very important. They're very important. Even though a telenovela is a studio and the audience doesn't care, the process should still apply, We're artists at the end of the day.
Man.
And there is no form of art if there is no process. I don't believe like artists, the art just comes out. No, there has to be a process. For you to get that painting right, you have to take your time while painting it. If you do not have the process, then you...
But like, do you feel there's a way in which production companies can standardize process? I'll give an example. I was working in a soapy like a decade ago or something, but it was an Afrikaans soapy. And their thing was, in the morning, all the actors must come before we shoot. There's a rehearsal room. You must have come, prepared your lines. The whole cast is watching your scene. The director blocks it, ta, cheers, bye. Next one. Whether you shoot at 4 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the evening, you must be there 7:30 for rehearsal. So do you think there's a way in which, the actual production company can standardize to say, okay, fine, before we work, there's a way to vet whether or not you've prepped for that?
Yeah. I do it for myself, and I've made sure that I have to read the script and I have to do a treatment and I have to sit with the directors and discuss my treatment and their treatments, and then we merge the treatments together, right? But I feel like every member, especially as a creative head, like the editor, everybody needs to be in that conversation. Yeah. It's not just me, everybody needs to kind of understand where we are heading in with the vision when we're having those meetings. I don't think, because sometimes you'll find that the scene works, but the wardrobe not quite. Why is that? It's because they were not involved in hearing
each other.
The vision, the entire vision, What's happening again with telenovelas is that editors just come and they edit. There's no longer reading what the continuity is saying, And then you shoot something very nice, but you see it on TV and it's just a horrible thing. And now we're not productions are saving money by not allowing us DPs to come and supervise the post-production or oversee the post-production. The grade especially. I don't care so much for the edit. That's a more a director's thing. I allow them to because
Yes.
it's their story, like let them tell the story. The shots are there.
But
Let
the
them tell
grade,
the story.
it's your
The
baby.
grade is that's my picture. I'm the director of that picture. So now, without even reading a script, the editor will also grade. Without reading my treatment, how do you grade something that I treated? How do you, as an editor, grade something that I treated without even just a mere call to say, yo, man, I'm doing this.
So from what I can pick up, I mean, these are huge nuggets for me, man. So the missing link is actually being able to discuss the process with your colleagues so there can be a shared vision that we know we're attacking. That's really, really true, man.
And when we're filming, also, it's that open conversation. Pella, the process also, we need to allow this process to filter into the filming as well. Because there's pre-prod. In pre-prod, we start the conversation. In filming, we carry on with the conversation. It's because everybody goes through their own problems during the shooting process. But I feel like if we talk about our problems, if I'm struggling to get this kind of a prop, let me talk about it.
Yeah, man.
If I'm struggling to get the look, let me talk about it. If the director is struggling with the blockings, if struggling with the performance of the actors, let's talk about it. It shouldn't be, yo, horrible acting. That DP is horrible. It shouldn't be that.
Man.
We really need to be more open as creatives to one another, especially when we're working on the same project.
So true. Right now, there's a lot of emphasis on preserving your mental health, making sure, and I see so many times on sets, everyone's stress levels is here. Directors stress just because they can't talk to the DP, man. Yo, man. That sucks, bro. So I think these conversations you're talking about are gonna really help us in terms of, because man, we walk out of these projects really oh, I'm so glad I'm done with that. And you go into another one.
And you can't walk out of a production feeling like you're carrying the whole production. Because, the minute I can't speak about, if I think, okay, the director could have blocked the scene a bit better just to accommodate my lighting. If I can't have that conversation, who's getting frustrated? Because it's me that's getting frustrated. Because I go to bed and I get those screen grabs and I'm like, look at how horrible this scene is. I can't sleep at night. Well, he got his blocking and all. But if I talk and say, look, man, just this kind of blocking is going to make my lighting a little bit difficult. Can I make a suggestion? And you've given him a choice to say yes or no. If he says no, then okay.
It's all good.
Let it go.
It's all good. But I mean, now, on the show, we've spoken about time. We've spoken about development, generally in our episodes, being a big issue. Putting in the time for development, developing a story properly, making sure that foundation is nice and strong. But we don't have much of a development phase in this country. It hasn't been something that's been emphasized, although I do find that some of the government agencies are trying to put in money, especially for independent producers, to say, here's something that you can spend time to develop this work. A lot of our content is made quickly, with barely enough time to plan and breathe and just kind of see it from every angle, unless you have the privilege to do so, but now, how does this trickle down to cinematography, the development process? Is there like a link? And do you think is a way, because we're talking about, process and conversation. How does it trickle down?
I mean, we'll speak about how to achieve the best way to film a scene. We'll speak about the best way to do this. We'll speak about the most efficient way of filming, the most efficient, the most quickest way of filming, But then it comes to the resources. I already don't have enough time. I already don't have enough resources. There is there's like daily stuff that happens, from time to time that just wastes time on set. Everything just ends up being an us problem, the on-set crew problem. Everything that happens outside of set ends up becoming the on-set. Yeah, well, I know even post gets some of that because they have to deal with the footage that we shot with less time and all that stuff. But less resources. We don't have time. We don't. We can't afford to have the necessary resources to shoot efficiently.
So let's say, ideally, how would it look? Let's say the time was there, the money was there. What would that process be? Where, like, when we're in development phase, how would you like to marry that? How would it look?
I think interrogating the story for as long as possible as creatives. Having to interrogate that story makes it so much easier to interpret it. From a technical point of view, from a directing point of view, from all the other departments, makeup, wardrobe. If we sit down all together and we interrogate the story, why does this happen? Why does that happen? How does this happen? Why? What's the relationship between this and that?
Sure.
We don't understand the story because we don't interrogate it enough. We don't have time to interrogate it. That for me is the beginning. Let's make time to sit down as creatives to interrogate the story.
So I was watching another interview on a different podcast, and they were interviewing, quite a, South African director who's doing very well at the moment. And he was talking about how in his process, he makes sure that he sets aside 3 weeks of rehearsal just for his actors. It's a standard, and I think that's the magic, right? Yeah. Like, where you set aside time, even if there isn't. I always believe, like, when you read these business books and they're like, just, especially as an entrepreneur, your thinking must be, I have to make provision for this, as opposed to, I don't have money.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'm coming back. I'm going to hustle. I'm going to make provision for this. You know what I mean? It's not like we need extra 10 million for that, but I think we need to put it aside in our minds to say, okay, guys, we're going to have this process.
Yeah.
And let's see, because that process probably will save us a lot of
money.
A
lot of money.
That's the process.
A lot of money.
You know what I mean? And I'm assuming as an independent producer, you'll be able to sell your product at the right amount because it's crisp.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. I mean, I don't get paid for the time I do to do treatments and read scripts. Yeah. I get paid for the week or 2 weeks of rekies, and I do not get, but it's my level. Once again, it's my level of commitment to my craft. I cannot start shooting without not having read the script. I cannot start without having treated the story.
I mean, there's so much happening in this industry, and there's a lot to celebrate. And at times there's a lot to look at and say, okay, we could correct this, that, and the third. But for you, what are some of the highlights? What gets you excited? What gets you, is keeping you, it's making you, to keep on moving and keeping on and keeping that. What are these? Yeah.
I think, the institutions are trying their best to kind of like come up with great content. I'm looking at Mzansi Magic, Showmax, ETV with the EVOD, Netflix South Africa is here now. All these platforms are just like really showing up. It's more work for us. It's more stories to tell. I think we're going somewhere with all these platforms. And just how the young people are not afraid to express themselves, like I've taken a lot of my courage I get from my focus puller. Like, I work with him consistently. Shout out to Tools.
Yes, sir.
He's just so expressive, man. Like unashamed and not afraid to get things wrong, you know? And that's how artists should be. Let's not be afraid to make mistakes, you know? Let's just be more expressive, you know? Yeah, that's what I'm enjoying right now, man. Is that we're more expressive. We're not afraid of getting things wrong. There's more opportunities, you know, with the platforms. And it's a bright future ahead for our industry.
Funny, you know, a colleague was saying to me how a person like Ava DuVernay was the first film she made was not too great.
Yeah.
But because they had the space to make those mistakes, you know, and I think we are slowly moving to a point where we have the freedom to make the mistakes. But one thing my producer, you know, did mention, you know, on, you know, she's got this YouTube page, you know, where she just puts her thoughts about the industry. And she was like, the problem is in South Africa, yes, we've got all these platforms, but it makes it difficult to access some of the content, you know, like you just saw a film that's way over there at EVOD, and I'm like here playing with Showmax, Netflix.
Yeah.
And then there's someone, you know, now there's Disney, you know, so do you think there's a way in which we can, I don't know how, because I know these are all companies that are competing, but just kind of standardize a package where you say, okay, you can get this, that, and the third, and, you know.
You know, I don't think there's a way, but I think with time, a way will eventually come, because I think every one of these content, all these platforms, they eventually need to come and work together.
They have to.
Yeah. Eventually, they're going to have to come and work together. And that's a time thing. That is really a time thing.
And I'm also surprised at how ignorant some, I mean, you know, especially middle-class families who... black families, because those are the people I'm, you know, exposed to. But I was talking to my cousin, is actually my uncle, but he's a young, cool guy, and his wife this weekend at my grandfather's funeral, and they were like, how much is Netflix? I'm like, whoa, you guys are earning such good money. You're paying so much for your you have no idea. When I told them how much it is, they couldn't believe how cheap it is. And why they wasted so much
money.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And so I think, you know, people also need to be educated about that. It was crazy. But now we jumping to a very exciting segment of our show, which is the game time. The name of the game is called Either Or. I give you two similar options and you take your pick. So we just want to, you know, kind of gauge your taste. It's basically an adaptation of who do you rather. It's, you know, another game. Film or digital?
Film.
Oh, why?
I was taught to shoot on film, and film is forever, man.
Okay, interesting. Sony or Arri?
Arri.
Oh. Okay, reason being?
I just enjoy the color space of Arri.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gives you more options than...
I mean, Sony is just as good, but like with the recent camera, I think the Sony Venice is the one that I think the color spacing of it is dope.
Very interesting.
But Sony, since the Arri Classic, it's just been consistent.
Brilliant. Okay.
Yeah.
Prime lens or zoom lens?
Primes.
Why, bro?
Primes, because they have a look of their own. You know, depth of field. They don't breathe. Like, you've got options. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, that's one. I think I know which one you'll say, but let's see. Night shoots or day shoots?
Night shoots.
What? I thought you'd say day shoots. Why night shoots? It's just better to
I enjoy lighting,
yeah. Same here. That's why we shoot all our episodes.
I enjoy the lighting at night.
Yeah, it's beautiful, man. Okay, so you're not the man who sleeps a lot.
Nah.
I'm assuming.
I even insist that I don't do day for night. I don't black out.
For real?
Yeah.
Sure, I thought you'd say day. Okay. This one is interesting. Kings of Joburg Season 1 or Kings of Joburg Season 2?
Yeah,
shout out to my man, Samar Davis.
Season 2.
Okay.
Purely because I worked on it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, crisp, clean stuff, man. Telenovelas or soapies? Ooh, tough one. There. Can I add or series?
Series.
Series of telenovelas.
Telenovelas or soapies? I'd say telenovelas, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, because my significant other always...
Yeah.
It's our bonding time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how we bond at home, you know?
Okay, interesting, man. You guys, okay, interesting. Streaming or broadcast TV?
Streaming.
Reason being?
It's accessible for me at any time, you know, like... It's a now thing, man.
Yeah, no.
It's a now thing. It's a now thing. I guess with streaming, like the only reason I don't have like cable, DSTV, dish and stuff, I've only got Wi-Fi at home, and I choose to watch what I want when I want. You know, there's no schedule. I don't follow any schedule of, you know. Yeah, I just prefer that.
I think it makes life so much easier.
So much life. Yeah.
So much easier, bro. Alrighty. Keeping up with the Candace Sammys or How to Ruin Christmas. Those are two South African productions. I hope you know at least one of them.
I know How to Ruin Christmas. Yeah, well, I found it very
Can
fun.
I tell you something actually you don't know? Keeping Up with the Candace Sammys is the highest grossing South African film.
Really?
More than Leon Schuster.
Really?
Boom. So do your research. yeah, when it comes to theater. It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very interesting.
It's a film, it's an Indian family film. You know?
And I saw it's on Netflix, right?
Yeah. I think they recently did a licensing deal.
Yeah.
But in terms of cinema tickets, they're the highest grossing.
Wow.
Yeah. But I mean, I think that's also testimony, you know, it's you know, to the power of tapping into these markets. Like, I think we've only hit the surface when we talk about tapping into the vendor market.
Yeah.
You know, the Tonga market, Bapedi, you know. And they tapped into the Indian market. A market that people just think, oh, man,
Worked out.
Which director, anywhere in the world, would you like to work with?
Anywhere?
Bona, Le Maputo, where, bro? Brazil, where, man? New York, LA, what?
I would say Eva.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think I will never get over the brilliance of When They See Us.
Yeah, man.
I'll never ever, that kind of storytelling, it brought so much emotion to me,
That's true.
you know? And to this day, I still look at that show, and it's also shot by one of my favorite DPs, Bradford Young, Black American.
Bradford Young.
Yeah. I mean, that's just exceptional work, man. It was a heavy series emotionally, and I think for me that's my kind of storytelling. You know, I mean, at some point you're just walking in the street, you read an article, and you just have a sense of hate. Like it evokes such strong emotion. That's the kind of filmmaking I want to do. You know, like I really want to find myself shooting stuff that evoke very strong emotions, you know, in people. I'm sure, like, you felt angry at some point, you felt sad at some point, and it to the extreme, you know?
Especially when watching When They See Us.
Yeah.
All those emotions.
And
when you mention about the process that you feel we should incorporate, I'm pretty sure they went through those processes.
They went through the process.
Because that thing was married. I've seen some South African work, you know, and obviously it's given that, you know, we don't have as much experience in some of these things, but you're like, this is dangerous to tap into such a difficult conversation, and you just treat it recklessly. You just treat it like, okay, this is what the writer wrote, DPU, come do your thing, and it's not what you're saying, where it's like a marriage of ideas, a symphony of ideas, you know, and I think When They See Us, that's what you see, you know.
So another director that I'd like to work with locally is Jamil.
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah, that guy's a brave director.
He's a genius.
He's broken so many boundaries. I think his work is just, his style of filmmaking is something that we fear as South African filmmakers. You know, that level of hard work is feared. We don't see it a lot. Like, I think before even the Shagas and all these other big productions, Jamil has just, his work is, I just found it so attractive.
Yeah, man. He's shout out to Jamil Kubeka, man. He's someone that we really, you know, should exonerate, and you know, and hopefully we'll have him at the show soon, Jamil. What's your all-time South African film and why?
All-time South African film. There's quite a couple.
Okay, you're listening. You love your local film, yeah.
Yeah, I love my local films. Mapantsula.
Oh, shout out Oliver Schmidt.
Yeah. And I recently went to watch it again in Rosebank.
How was that? How was
I think they restored it to 4K. It's brilliant still. It's brilliant still. Jerusalem.
Oh yeah.
Tsotsi. Yeah, and Zulu on my stoop for some reason.
Weird. Okay. The first three I understand because of your strong connection with township culture.
Yeah,
you know, it makes sense. And Zulu on my stoop is a classic, man. A classic. So Dan, thank you so much, brother, for this enlightening conversation.
Yeah.
You know, this is a conversation that brings forward issues and topics around, you know, technical crew and how you view the industry from your perspective. You know, it's going to really help us to improve the system that we're trying to impact. So thank you for that, brother. And we definitely would like to have you here again. We want to expand these conversations. We know that you're working on exciting projects, and we really would love a window into your world. You know, to the beginning of a great relationship, and may we continue working with you and seeing you more in this country.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure being here.
Bless you well. We'd like to thank Fortunewell, the Dynamic Workspaces, as well as the Magic Lightbox Company for sponsoring this episode. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much for following us.